Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to share with you the books that I have read in June. June wasn't a great reading month for me, I just had a lot going on, so we'll just get right into it, and I hope this can be quite a short and sweet video. So the first book I managed to read in June was an audiobook. It is called A Million to One by Adiba Jaigirdar. This one is a Titanic retelling where we follow a group of 4 girls who are planning a big heist on the Titanic, but we obviously all know what happened to that ship, so you can expect what will happen in the book as well. And this one is a YA book, and it's kind of historical fiction, but I would say that the Titanic is really the only historical thing, and maybe the description of some of the clothing, but we don't really get like a lot of like historical detail on anything in this novel, so I would recommend you don't expect too much. Also, this novel is trying to be very diverse, where we have these girls from like very different backgrounds. One of the girls had to flee from India, or what is today Pakistan, and then one of the girls is from Croatia, I think. But overall, we can see that the kind of heritage of these girls is not really explored. We have very few like throwaway comments on colonialism and on racism, but it's not explored really at all. So again, don't expect that. What you can find here is quite the adventure story. We do see the friendship of these girls bloom, even though I have read reviews that wanted even more from that as well. And we also have a Sapphic romance in here that is not really the major point of the story, I would say. And so I gave this book 3.5 stars. I think it is fun, it is cute. I liked the relationships, and I just always fall for the Titanic retellings. And when I'm then in the middle of the story, I realize I'm just waiting for the boat to sink because I want the drama. So I did learn a couple of new things, especially about the Rubaiyat, but that was mainly because I started Googling stuff. And then what is so weird about this is that when I was Googling around in my like Titanic obsession that this book caused, I found the videos of the submarine that now sank. So I was watching all of these videos, and then like 2 weeks later suddenly it hit like the news, it was everywhere. So it felt a little bit weird that I had just found their YouTube channel and watched all of these videos, and now it's gone. And obviously for the people who died it's horrific, but then at the other hand it seems like this is a very controversial submarine and stuff like that. So I'm not going into that. It was just a weird experience overall to have that kind of flood into my life when I had just gotten out of the Titanic frenzy. Then the next book I finished is one of the reasons why I read so little during the month, and that was The Whale Throne by Ken Liu. This is the 3rd book in the Dandelion Dynasty series, and this series, while it is very good, and I gave this book 4.5 stars as well, is so hard to read at times, especially if you're not feeling great already, and then you read this and so many horrible things happen to the characters you care about. It's just not fun. Like, parts of this book were so not fun. There is a lot of dark, heavy, twisted things happening. We have one character who is basically a fascist, and just watching her was so much yeah, it's not a fun read, but it is a good exploration of, you know, humankind and how we are and where that can lead. So I would highly recommend the series, but just remember going into this that starting from the 2nd book, you probably won't have too much fun with it, even though I must say the second half of this was very fun and I really enjoyed that. There will be a big reading vlog for the whole series once I'm finally done with it, so keep your eyes peeled for that if you're interested. And then the next book I finished was my classic for the month, and that was Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf. I had no idea what to expect when I went into this because I hadn't heard anything about it, but I wanted to try reading one of her books for a long time, and this one is just so beautiful that I decided to go with it. This is the cloth-bound edition by Penguin, I believe, and yeah, it's just It's just gorgeous. And when you read the book, it also made sense why there's all the planes on it. But yeah, basically this one follows a day in the life of Clarissa Dalloway, who is hosting a party in the evening, and then we just move quite freely through the minds of a couple of the people that we see who will attend the party or who are just passers-by. And I did like this. I think it was intriguing to have the perspective of an older woman. Miss Dalloway is already in her 50s during this book, and this talks a lot about womanhood, about the cycle of life basically. And then we also have some like relationship drama in here, because she was once in love with a woman, but then she also had kind of this on-off relationship with a man who she in the end refused to marry, but he's just coming back to England. And then we have a whole different topic that is brought up here, and that is a shell-shocked veteran of the First World War. And so it was interesting to see how it all blends together. The writing style is definitely something to get used to. It is a very stream of consciousness, and so it is hard to follow at times, because obviously thoughts are not always like thought out like to the finish line basically. And so it was hard to get into it, but I really enjoyed the experience of reading most of this in one go, so you wouldn't really get out of the flow, I guess. So I gave it 4 stars. I would recommend if you're interested in classics, if you're interested in the 20s, and if you're interested in a story that just is a little bit different probably from what you've read before. So after that I finished another audiobook. This one I was so slumpy with and that is Girls Made of Snow and Glass by Melissa Bashardoust. This is a Snow White retelling where we follow both the Snow White character, who has a different name in the book, and then also the stepmother character, who we also follow from a young age, but then see how she becomes the queen and why she wants to hold on to that. And I really enjoyed this kind of reimagining of the story, of the characters. The way that magic was brought into the story here was very intriguing. I can already tell you there will be no dwarfs in this story, and it's just, it has very different plot points, but kind of the feeling is still there. You can definitely see that this is Snow White in a way. Now this book is very slow in its storytelling. There's really not a lot happening, to be honest, and that's also why I was slumping through it, because there was never really any intrigue to pick it back up. Whenever you think something would start happening, there wasn't really anything following up to that, I guess. So it is a very like kind of inward turned story where we're in the heads of these characters a lot, and we just follow their thoughts and their motivations and see them come to conclusions. I would say that is like the main thing that this book does. And it does explore some interesting themes, such as motherhood, what makes a mother, and also kind of the pressure that parents can put on their children to become something very specific that then the children probably won't want just because of that. And yeah, it had interesting themes. It also has a tiny sapphic romance, but there's also not a lot going on with that. So overall I gave it 3.5 stars, and I can't really recommend this book except when you're like a big Snow White fan and you want a very different look at it. And that, my dear friends, is it. That is all the books that I have read, now that I think about it. Does it add up? No, I forgot a book. Why did I forget this? Oh my god. So I've read one more book. I just forgot about it because it was short. And that is When the Tiger Came Down the Mountain by Nghi. This is his second novella in this novella series. I think it's called The Singing Hills Cycle. And in that series we are following a cleric who's going around the world to collect stories. So in the first book we had a particular story they were collecting, and now in the second book we have a different story. I did enjoy both of these books in a way equally, but for different reasons. I think in this second book I enjoyed the story within the story a lot more than in the first book, but then I didn't really enjoy the kind of frame the story that much. Like there wasn't so much going on with that. So I did really like it. I gave it 4.5 stars. I listened to this all in one afternoon when I had a terrible migraine and I literally couldn't do anything. And the kind of story within the story we get here is a Sapphic love story of a scholar and a tigress. And I thought that was very interesting. Like the magic of this world is just so wonderful. It has this fairy tale feeling. It's just so cozy, but you can feel the dangers as well. But you have this trust that it will end in a place where you gain something from it. So yeah, I really loved it. This is probably my favorite book that I read in the month, just because, as I said, well thrown. It really wasn't fun. So I think they're equally good on a craft level, but on the fun level, I very much enjoyed When the Tiger Came Down the Mountain a lot more. So that's now all of the books that I have read, and I'm also about halfway through Speaking Bones, so almost done with the Dandelion Dynasty series. So I hope I will get to more books again once this behemoth is out of the way. I hope you had a lovely reading month in June. Let me know what your favorite book was that you have read. Leave a like or a nice comment. I always appreciate it, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye!